Welcome into the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham, and it is live Q&A time, hashtag Chiefs, or Super Chat to get your questions answered. If you want to ask about free agency, the trade market, the draft, whatever it is, we'll get your questions on the show, and we'll answer just as many as we possibly can. From Kilazoldik, do you think Clark getting cut is bad for a possible Chris Jones extension, since him and Clark are really close friends? In some ways, you could say it's bad because of their friendship, but if anything, it's probably good more than anything because it probably makes doing an extension before next year more possible just because of the financial flexibility. So I don't expect Chris Jones to go anywhere. I think if anything, this could signal that they want to prioritize Chris Jones, which they should. Like, if you have to pick one over the other, it's obviously going to be Chris Jones with how dynamic he is as an interior guy and him being the more consistent player. So I wouldn't be concerned with that. I think Chris Jones will be back in 2023 and beyond. Daniel Longstaff used the money from releasing Clark and get either defensive end Josh Allen or Danielle Hunter. Allen with the Jags, Hunter with the Vikings. I mean, obviously you'd have to trade for either of those guys as they're under contract. But, yeah, I mean, I do think Clark exiting signals that you need an edge rusher. I don't think there's any doubt. I like George Karlaftis, but you need another starter in there. Mike Dana has been a great rotation piece, but I don't think he's a starter. So, yeah, I think maybe trading for someone or signing like a Yannick Ngakoue or drafting someone early on could be possible. From Christy Cheney, we need Nolan Smith. Listen, the Georgia edge rusher had an unbelievable combine. What did he end up running? 4.39, producer Sam? I think that's what he ran. It was unofficial, but unofficial is 4.44, official 4.39. Thanks for the clarification there from Sam. But, yeah, he was freaky as a tester. He's a great athlete. He stops the run well, so – yeah, I'm interested. I don't know if he'll fall to 31 after that performance, but we'll see. Christopher Huff with the $10 super chat. Shout out, Chris. If you want a super chat, you can jump the line here. What's the real story on D-Hop? Also, what is the draft chatter with Tyree Williams? I think you mean Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech edge rusher. I'll start with Hop. I think the real story is the Cardinals are very open to trading him, and if they can get a second-round pick, they'll probably do so. I buy that. And I think with Tyree Wilson, I think he's probably a top 10 lock. I know he didn't do the workout stuff at the Combine, but he's freaky athletic. He's long. He's big. He's strong. So I think he goes top 10, which probably takes the Chiefs out of play. I don't think they're going to move from 31 into the top 10. Chiefs for Life says, with the Titans shopping Derrick Henry, should the Chiefs trade for him? I mean, I would certainly I say I'd be open to it. I don't think I would, actually. As fun as it would be, I think Isaiah Pacheco's ready to take off as a back in this league. He had a great finish to the year, good in the playoffs. You bring back Jarrett McKinnon. I think if anything we've learned, you don't need to spend big money on a running back. So I don't think I would show interest here. Now, if the Titans are just giving him away for like a fifth-round pick, maybe, but I also don't think Tennessee will do that. So I don't think I would do it, but maybe the kingdom feels differently. You know, if I was playing Madden, I definitely would. What would you guys do? Would you trade for him? Type T for trade or P for pass. What would you guys do with Derrick Henry? I think I'd pass, but, there might be a scenario where I'd consider it. From Dallas Country, man, would you trade for Brian Burns? Now, that is something I would do. Now, what would Carolina want from him? Well, and by the way, I do think there's an outside chance this could happen because Carolina is looking to move up in the draft for a quarterback, so maybe they move up, and to help replenish some of that draft capital they're losing, maybe they ship Brian Burns. I think it's got at least a first-round pick plus more, so a first and a third? Kind of like these big wide receiver trades, first-round pick plus a third or fourth-round pick. I mean, that's probably what it's going to cost. Burns is one of the best young pass rushers in the NFL. From Adrian Gonzalez, if we trade CEH, do you think we sign playoff Lenny as RB3? I'm cool with Leonard Fournette as this team's third back. He can be short yardage. He's a decent enough pass catcher. He can block well enough. Re-sign McKinnon and go sign Leonard Fournette as this team's third back. I'm certainly open to that. Deldrick Smith, would you give Saunders a one-year deal like we did Derek Nottie? I would bring back Kalen Saunders. I like Kalen Saunders. I don't know what his market will be, but if I could get him for $5 million or less, I would be open to that. You're probably going to have to pick him or Nottie. I doubt you'll bring back both, and I would probably rather have Saunders. From Shad Jameson, would you move Joe Tooney to left tackle and pick up a guard? He played well in the Bengals game a couple of seasons ago. I don't think so. I don't think you mess with one of the best guards in the NFL and try to make him a permanent tackle. I like that he has that flexibility if an injury happens and he can slide over and do that. We've kind of seen that from Zach Martin with the Cowboys as well. But I don't think he's a permanent left tackle. Like I don't think that's something you want to do if you're Kansas City. From Dale Webb Jr., what are the chances that the Chiefs can get T. Higgins? Bengals GM kind of shut that down at the NFL Combine. Now, never say never, but I think Cincinnati is going to prioritize Joe Burrow first, Jamar Chase second, T. Higgins third, and I do think they'll make it happen. They're going to let Jesse Bates walk in free agency. They're probably going to cut Joe Mixon to clear up some cap. I think T. Higgins stays in Cincinnati. From Rollo Brown, what about Allen Robinson, he says. She says, excuse me, do you think Allen Robinson comes because he's willing to pay half the contract of the Rams? Let him go. I got to be honest. A-Rob has been very unproductive the past 2 years, but could he have like a Juju-type season in Kansas City where like he just needs to get with the right team to kind of get back on track? I loved A-Rob a couple years ago. I'm on record 2 years ago saying this is the most underrated receiver in football, and then the next 2 years he just wasn't that good. So I'm not sure what's happened there. He's still young. Now, he's never been the fastest guy, and at times he struggles to separate now, but he's a great back shoulder guy. Juju's not exactly a burner either, so I'd be open to it if it was a super cheap trade. You never know what the value is going to be. Now, name a player that the Chiefs should sign in NFL free agency. If you could pick anybody, who would you go out and get? It can be at any position. Go ahead and drop a name in the comments section. Now, St. Patrick's Day is almost here, and it is a perfect time to get your Chiefs St. Patty's gear. We got a couple of shirts, a pair of socks as well that you can get. Chatsports.com/ChiefsGreen is the place to go shop today. Chatsports.com/ChiefsGreen. Go ahead and represent Chiefs Kingdom on St. Patrick's Day. And don't get pinched for not wearing green like I have in the past. I've already ordered my shirt. Chatsports.com/ChiefsGreen to represent the Chiefs on St. Patrick's Day. All right, from Jay. Is it just me or has CEH not been the same since the one game against the Ravens? Yeah, I mean, look, he's just outside of a couple games, you know, he's never looked like that high level player we thought we were getting when they drafted him in round one. I loved him as a pass catcher out of LSU. He hasn't done a ton of that. You know, I think it's just one of those deals where maybe he just never caught up to the NFL speed. He just looks slow, guys. Like, one thing he's always been good at is finding tough extra yards. Like, he's pretty good at that, but he's not explosive. He doesn't run away from defenders. He's not even that quick in space. So, I don't know. He's just kind of a limited player, to be honest. Tony Fuentes, I think Juju will stay with the Chiefs for 2 years. Hey, 2-year, $35 million deal, $17-18 per. Price talked me into that. Terry Singleton, do you think they could get Juju and DeAndre Hopkins for next year? Is it possible? Yes. Would I expect it? Absolutely not. Quite frankly, you don't need both. If you can re-sign Juju, cool. If you can't, if you want to try and trade for Nuke, that's cool too. But you've got plenty of, like, your wide receiver depth chart has plenty of depth, right? Like, you've got Kadarius Toney, you've got Sky Moore, you've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think Justin Watson likely returns as a depth guy, so I don't think you need both of those guys. From Nick Webker, what do you think the odds are of the Chiefs going wide receiver in the first and potentially trading up for one? I mean, you know, if a guy like Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston or Jackson Smith-Njigba slips and is sitting there in the 20s, do you go get him? Maybe. I think those are good players. I don't know if any of them are going to fall to 31, but maybe one of them does because, you know, some people don't view this wide receiver class as being that strong. So we'll see. I would certainly be open to doing that for the right player. Tatum Floyd, hey Harrison, how's the baby coming along? Proud of you, buddy. Appreciate that. We're about 4 or 5 weeks away, so due date's mid-April. Could come a little early. We'll see, but yeah, Hannah's chugging along. She's been a trooper, so shout out to her. If you want to show Hannah some love, type Hannah in the live chat and in the comments, and I'm sure she would appreciate that. I'll be sure to show her this video. All right, subscribe to the Chiefs Report if you don't want to miss out on any of our Chiefs coverage. We have mailbags every week when we go live on Mondays. We'll probably have some sporadic lives throughout free agency and the draft as well when things happen, so turn on your notifications. That way you never, ever miss a video here on the Chiefs Report. Couple more here. Jay says, would Mekhi Becton be a trade target? I mean, you know, if you need both tackles to be filled, do you buy low on Becton? It's intriguing, but he's not someone that's proven to be trusted. Like, he's a pretty good player when healthy, but he has not been healthy. He's had issues of reports of him showing up overweight in the offseason. Like, he just hasn't been a reliable player for New York. Dante Morris, what do you think, or what do you think we do with Snead, trade, sign? It's a good question. You wonder with kind of some of these Chiefs roster moves, are they going to keep L'Jarius Snead on a contract extension? Do they trade him and get a good draft pick? It's hard to say. I would like for him to stick around, but at the same time, if someone's willing to give you a top 50 pick for him, that's intriguing as well, because if you keep Snead, it's going to cost a pretty penny on a contract. Kevin Gonzalez, what if we trade Saquon? I heard some talk about him. I don't see it as a terrible idea. Look, I think he'd be good here. I just don't think it's necessary because, well, number one, you would only have to trade for him if he gets franchise tagged, which, depending on when you're watching this, may or may not have happened. But whether you sign or trade for him, it's going to cost you, you know, at minimum $10 million per year if he's under the tag, if not much more on an extension. And you got Pacheco, re-sign McKinnon. I don't think you need Saquon Barkley. Tim Sporer, who is your current draft crush? It's a good question. I really like Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. I think he's a fun player. I think he'd fit in well here in Kansas City. Oh, man. Sneezed on a show last week. Good grief. I like Quentin Johnston. I'm a little biased there because he went to the same college I did, the TCU receiver. There's other guys. There's like some sleepers I like. You want to draft sleeper? Bryce Ford Wheaton, the West Virginia wide receiver. Watched him a lot in college. He had a great combine as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's some guys, but I certainly got to do more studying too. Space, if Jerick McKinnon walked, would you give Pollard $10 million? Pacheco and Pollard would be the best duo in football. Well, Tony Pollard got franchise tagged by Dallas, so he's not going anywhere. That would be fun. I mean, Pollard is just a better McKinnon, really. So, yeah, it's fun to think about, but that's not going to happen with Pollard on the tag. From Maddie B, is edge now the definite number one need in the draft? I mean, it might be left tackle. Depending on what happens with Orlando Brown, it could be left tackle. But, yeah, I definitely think you need an edge. That was probably need number one entering the offseason, and it's definitely could still be there. But left tackle, depending on what happens with Orlando Brown, has certainly entered the conversation. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram for the latest Chiefs news and rumors. You can slide in the DMs. If you have any questions, I got some DMs to catch up on. I will be doing that in the coming days. But always get back to you guys. So at HGramNFL, Twitter and Instagram, we can talk some ball over there.